The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you, James.
Tonight's episode is going to be an interesting one. On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about a video that was put up on TikTok by this gentleman. And basically what the situation is the guy had to have heart surgery. So he goes into the hospital, he has open heart surgery, and he gets through the surgery okay. He's in recovery. And he is having visions of ghosts, and they're taking him to different locations and stuff like that. It's a pretty interesting video, and it's a pretty interesting subject. So I have an article for this video tonight, and we're going to be looking at that article and then kind of breaking it down. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is I'm going to go ahead and read the article to you. And then I think I'm going to throw over to Old Boy first tonight, because he actually has experience with this. He has died a couple times at the hospital, like after surgeries and stuff like that. I have my own death experience as well that I've documented on this channel. If you do not know the story of my death, it's on multiple episodes of Staring. And also I made a separate standalone video for the channel about my first death. And it's on here to find. If I think about it, I'll put it down in the description, but I might not remember. So if I don't, it's on the channel. You just have to look it up. So we're going to go to the article now. I'll read that to you. And then after the article, Old Boy will come in and give his opinion on it and everything. So here's the article. Today's article comes from MS News, and the headline is Singapore Man Describes Paranormal Encounters During ICU Stay. Says ghosts dragged him out of bed. The ghost even brought him to a zombie-infested ship. It was written by Nicole Fu, and it was published December 12th, 2022. Man recounts paranormal encounters during two-night ICU stay. Although hospitals are a place of healing and recovery, it's also where deaths occur. Hence, it's no wonder why hospitals always make a popular setting for ghost stories. A man's recent ghostly encounter during his two-night stay in the ICU proves there may be some truth to these origins. Sharing his experience in a TikTok video, he said the ghost kept dragging him out of bed and transporting him to random places in his dreams. It's been 10 months since his hospital stay, but the memories of his encounters remain ever so vivid. For the faint of heart, do proceed with caution. Man details paranormal encounters in ICU after surgery. TikTok user at Venography uploaded the video of his supernatural encounters last Saturday, December 10th. The OP Melvin told MS News that he was warded in the ICU for 2 nights after his open heart surgery on February 15th. In the video, he described his ICU stay as a struggle, as he could not sleep at night. Quote, every night there would be people crowding around my bed trying to pull me up, end quote. Melvin also observed that these mysterious figures were dressed in hospital gowns and were of various age groups and races. Then they would apparently transport him to different scenes when he was asleep. Ghosts transported him to multiple locations. The first scene they brought him to was an abandoned ship swarming with zombies, he recalled. Quote, so I knew it was a dream, and they brought me here, end quote, Melvin remarked. He then struggled to wake up, forcing his eyes open and realized he was still lying on the bed in the ICU. However, they transported him to another scene, this time with a female ranger in Africa. Suddenly, the scene changed to a dark stairwell, where workers tried to talk to him. Throughout the night, Melvin drifted in and out of sleep, with the people taking him to random locations. When he opened his eyes, tons of people crowded around his bed, pulling him up. They asked him to play with them, although he repeatedly replied that he wanted to sleep. Finally, these disturbances ceased after he was transferred to a regular ward. Others also encountered similar incidents. In the comments, some netizens also shared their own ghost encounters in the hospital. For instance, this user recalled seeing the different deaths that had occurred in the room before. Another said they saw hospital staff walking through the wall during their stay. However, some said what Melvin experienced was due to anesthesia. Thankfully, he told MS News that he did not suffer any trauma after the bizarre encounters. And that is the end of the article.
So, thank you, James. I'll talk about an experience I had when I had surgery. So I was watching this the little bit of the TikTok video, and his talking about how he was crowded around and he saw things. I had surgery years ago. I had appendicitis, so they had given me, lots of medicine. See, that's the other argument is when you have heart surgery, you're on a lot of medications. That's the other argument. It's going to be always brought up to attention. Was it medicine, or was it, him hallucinating because of that, because of the surgery? So much body trauma on the body. When I had surgery for appendicitis, one night my wife was there sleeping. At the time we were engaged, and they let her stay with me. It was a cool hospital, really cool. She could go and leave. It was in Ontario, Kaiser, in Ontario, California, Kaiser Permanente. That hospital was really awesome. They were really cool. One night I thought something was rubbing me, and I thought it was my wife, and I woke up, she was sound asleep. So I was very open to things. I felt things, I saw things, I dreamed weird things, if that makes any sense. Anesthesia can do that, I heard. It can make you just be out there, guys, but also they were giving me, I think they were giving me morphine and fentanyl, all kinds of stuff that time for the pain, because morphine doesn't really work on me. It's weird. So I can understand this because I felt things, I could see things. I didn't have weird dreams like he did. Like he had dreams like he was getting hoarded by zombies and he was in Africa and he saw this lady in a Land Rover or a Jeep or something. But that could be that he traveled somewhere else in another dimension or another time, another place. That's what I believe anyway. I have a theory on that. But with the, seeing people, patients, those are probably people who had passed away and they were trying to get them to go with him, to go with them, and stay there forever. Maybe that's what happens when you die. You just get stuck where you're at and they try to get you to leave your body and you get stuck. It's just a theory. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I've had this issue happen with dreams before where I know I've been somewhere and had a weird dream and it was just crazy. Like with zombies, I've had zombies coming after you, but remember, dreams can mean something else. That was really weird, a horde of zombies. Maybe he was in another time, another place. Not another time, I wouldn't say time, but another dimension where their zombies are real. Maybe sometimes when we get dreams and we make them reality, maybe something really is real in another place or another dimension or multiverse, if you think about it. The ghosting, that I believe that there's something probably, you got to watch TikTok videos, but a lot of people want to get a lot of views, so you really have to be careful. That's the only issue I have with this. And the medicine. People want to be famous, so they'll say anything. We've already been dealing with this with the paranormal. So, I'm not saying I don't believe him. I do believe that he probably saw something. There is ghosts that come in and talk to you when your body's in a restful situation, especially their heart surgery is a little bit different than what I had. That's a long process, and you could be in a coma for a long time. Sometimes you don't even make it, even if you get past the surgery. So that's a possibility. I've heard people sleeping before and waking up, and they said they could hear everybody talking, but they had bad things happening to them. I've heard other people said they were in. My friend that helped me with the books, Ed Reyes, he told me that he went through a vortex when he was having surgery, and he said he felt the nurse bring him back, but he said he could see vortexes and beautiful colors, and he said it was awesome. It was like going through a tunnel. He told me that. I've never had that. I've almost died a couple times. I've never seen that. Not saying it doesn't exist. I didn't see that. James has had his experiences. I know a lot of people have had experiences with near death and stuff that's happened around him. Yeah, I know you guys are probably tripping off the beard starting it. Just so you know, I don't dye my beard. Just wanted I know I'm getting off topic because people talk about it, but my beard actually naturally grows like this and has this color. It's kind of cool. Just so, because I know people are all, what are you doing, old boy? Why you? I like the beard. My wife likes the beard. This is going to be me. I know you guys are all, you're in California. I don't care. I like it. I think it looks badass. So, it makes me look different than other people. And I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I want to do it and I enjoy it. So, just so you guys, I know people have been asking me about it. So that's why I do it. But look, if you guys look, a little bit of a color in there. It's kind of cool. But yes, I believe that this is very possible. The dreams are different. He could be just traveling and he was just in these dream states, and that makes sense because it happens like that. If you guys get what I mean on that, you can be somewhere and your body travels to another dimension or multiverse or whatever you want. That's what I think. I think dreams, when you go in your dreams, is that you're in another place, that it's just somewhere else, that you're just with other people. Because it's funny, if you ever dream like you'll be friends with people you don't talk to all the time, but you're like in this dream, you're like buddies with them or something else, or romantically with them. It's some different universe. It's kind of weird. But the ghosting, I believe it. They were trying to get him to leave his body. Maybe they were trying to contact him. Maybe he has a power he doesn't know about, or he has an ability to talk to the dead or see the dead, like Sixth Sense. You remember the Sixth Sense movie? The little boy could talk to the dead and had like the coolest ending, because I wasn't even. That's one movie that caught me off guard. I never thought about it, and then at the end, I'm like, oh wow! Me and my friend went and seen it when it first came out, and it like tripped us out. It was crazy to see that. The movie was great, dude. I love Bruce Willis as it is, so and that is what it's going to be, guys. If you watch this show, tell me what you guys think in the comments, like we always ask. Tell us what you think. What you think's going on here? Do you believe that? Have you ever had an experience? We always would like to know. Please be honest. Tell us what you really think and if you had an experience, not something you're just saying it so we can get you on here and talk about it. That's all I say. I always say that because some people like to, not in saying they're dishonest, but they like to not tell the whole story. Not saying you guys do it. There's just some people who have in the past. So we're trying to keep away from that now. I hope you guys understand that we're trying to do different things all the time now. And this is something we've really been talking about, paranormal and seeing people seeing ghosts, and because that's what we do. I hate to say it now. We've really got into this now. We'll do aliens and we'll do cryptozoology and stuff like that. But we're getting really into the whole paranormal thing. And this is stuff we deal with all the time. So of course it's going to be a big topic a lot now. And we deal with the dead. Me and James deal with the dead. You guys, as crazy as that sounds, when we first started doing this show, we weren't really into this. I mean, I've done ghost hunting in the past, and so has James. It just, people gave us an opportunity years ago, and we got involved in it about 5 years ago. I really got into it, just like James. And now it's like becoming a part of my life. We are one of the most extreme places in the world. Groups staring into the abyss, tales of the abyss. We have a group in Virginia and here in California, Vapor and Shadow's Pit. They like that idea, so don't be surprised in the next year or so you see a show on somewhere. 2, actually, probably. But we're willing to go anywhere. The most craziest, dangerous places that a lot of these big names won't do. And they've already heard they won't. We will. I'm willing to do stuff that most people haven't even heard of. It doesn't bother me, guys. This is the paranormal thing we're doing anyway, so I'll talk about it. Me and James are different. And I'm not bragging or saying anything crazy. I'm just saying we're different than most people. And you got to be a different kind of person to do this stuff. Like, go into some of the most haunted places blindfolded, 1 or 2 people, or by yourself. And we'll do it. Skinwalker's Ranch, Amityville, the Conjuring House, Dracula's Castle, places in Europe, like the place in London, the famous, like, what is it? God, where they killed a lot of people, and some kind of metal ward out there. I forget what the name is. God, but it's supposed to be really haunted. I want to go there. I have a whole list of places, but I'm not worried about it. Neither James. That's just how we are. Trust me. Just playing with you guys. But yeah, that's what it's going to be about. And this situation right now, the show we're doing is, I've dealt with this before. My wife has dealt with this. James has dealt with this. So nothing's surprising. Now I'm getting back on topic. Sorry, guys. I was talking a little bit about what we were get on, because I haven't been able to talk to you guys. I missed you. We did a show last week, but that was something that was already we were doing, and then we just did it real quick. But you guys have any questions about what we are and what we do, or write us, or you need any help, or you need anybody to come out and check your situation, let us know if we can help you. I have a group in West Virginia no, it's not in West Virginia. We have a group in Virginia and they go a lot in Pennsylvania, here in California, some places in Nevada, but we can help you. And we know people over the world, all over the country, over the world, somebody we can find that can help you if we can't. So remember that, guys. You guys are having any issues, let us know. We'll see what we can do. If we can't, we'll get somebody to go help you. I have connections all over the country, over the world, everywhere. We know a lot of people, even the most famous people. You'd be surprised. They know who we are. Just so you guys know, Andy from Vapor, the group in Virginia, was doing stuff with Sean Austin, who did the 28 Hauntings on Netflix. That's going to be cool. I think we're getting some footage on that, and we may be getting something like an interview with him down the line. So what I've been hearing, I just wanted to let that be known. We'll see. You never know. But we are really well known now, Staring and Tales from the Abyss. And I'm glad, because I think this is going to go on, I think this is our 6th year anniversary that we're going to be doing Tales. I think it's 6. 6 or 7. 6 or 7, one of the... No, it's not 6. 7 years. It's going to go... Actually, the end of the month will be 7 years. Sorry, guys. I'm getting old. 7 years since we've been starting Staring into the Abyss. 7 long years with James Hershey. No, I'm playing. I love the guy. He's like my brother. He knows I'm messing with him. He's probably going to laugh when he sees this. 7 years. We got to do an anniversary show probably at the beginning of the year. But 7 years. Wow. Because I started in 2016. The end of 2016, we started Staring into the Abyss. So, yeah, 7 years. That's crazy. No. 2015, guys. Sorry. 2015. The end of 2015, I think. 2015. Yes, 2016. I'm sorry. So it is 7 years. So, God, you know what? After I got COVID, guys, a year ago, I've kind of finally getting over it, but I still forget things. And I think James does. We're just getting old, guys. I know you guys are probably going to sit there. You guys have lost his mind, but that's what I think. I think it's probably a possibility that this guy saw all this stuff and had these dreams. So what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments. Tell me what you guys think about. But that's all I got to say, guys. Thank you, brother. And sorry, man. Getting old, guys. It sucks. You know that, guys. So I love you. Misfits.
Okay, so as you can see, this was an interesting article. Old boy had his say. It kind of surprises me that he never saw anything but black. That kind of, but it makes sense in a way, because old boy doesn't believe in God. Old boy's not a saved individual, so I wouldn't expect that he's going to have a vision of heaven or Jesus or God or anything like that. You would think that he would have some kind of vision, though. It's interesting to me that it was completely black. One thing that I wonder about sometimes is when people, we did a whole episode of Staring about people that had near-death experiences and they actually saw hell. And there's a bunch of different descriptions of hell that people gave. One of those descriptions was darkness, that it was just pure black. And they could hear things, but they couldn't see anything. And that they just felt utterly and completely alone and hopeless. Now, I don't know whether he heard anything or if it was just nothing. He said that he saw blackness. It was just dark. So to me, that means he must have seen something, because otherwise he would just say, well, I didn't see anything. You know, I didn't have any kind of experience at all. I died and came back and there was nothing. You know, there was no experience to be had. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. There was no space of time. It was just, I was here, then I wasn't, then I was again. But that's not the way he described it. He described it as darkness. So that is interesting to me. So I wonder if what old boy saw was not the same kind of thing that one of those people saw in the descriptions of hell. I don't know for sure. Maybe we'll do a show at some point in the future and really dig into that and try to figure that out. But like I said, I've had my own experiences as well. And what I saw absolutely brought me back to Christ, because I had moved away from God. I left God because, I grew up in the church. I grew up religious. And my grandmother got lung cancer. And we had fought like crazy because we're kind of similar people. And so we fought a lot. And, well, she went into the hospital after that. And that was the last time that I got to speak to her. I never made it to the hospital to say I was sorry or anything like that. And I remember when she passed away, it was hard for me, because the last words that I spoke to that woman were words of hate, you know, and we fought. And even though I know that she loved me and I know that she realizes that I loved her, it still was hard. And as a young guy, I blamed God. I wouldn't take that responsibility on myself for whatever reason. Looking back on it now, it's very easy to see that I was at fault. You know, I shouldn't have acted that way. I should have apologized. I shouldn't have sat there and held that grudge and not spoken to her for a while. So completely 100% my fault. But for whatever reason, I blamed God at that time. So I had walked away from God, turned my back on God. And God had given me several opportunities to come back. He put people in my life and put situations in my life to let me know that he still loved me and that he was there. And me being young and stubborn, I wouldn't listen. So God literally had to kill me to bring me back. So when I died and I had my experience, it brought me back to Jesus. And I'll tell you really quickly what that experience was, and then we'll get into the article and break that down and everything, because just in case you guys don't find the other video and you don't know, you haven't seen it already, but I won't go through the whole story. Basically, there's a place called Gypsy Falls, and it's this waterfall that has this cliff. You walk down around the cliff, and there's a waterfall there, and there's a pool at the bottom where people would go swimming. You got to walk through the woods to get to it. And it used to be a very popular place to go at night. You know, you would go down there and take some chicks down there and do a little skinny dipping and do a little loving, you know what I'm saying? So me and my buddy, the guy that actually does the theme music for Staring, we had a couple chicks, and we were taking them down there to Gypsy Falls to do a little skinny dipping. And so we're walking through the woods, and this was a time before cell phones. Cell phones didn't exist yet. And I didn't have a flashlight or anything like that, because this was an impromptu situation. You know, we just picked these chicks up in town. It wasn't planned. So all I had was a little lighter, because I was a smoker at the time. But being a macho guy, I'm not going to light my lighter in the woods trying to find my way, because I've been here a bunch of times. I know where the hell I'm going. So we're walking through the woods, and I start getting this feeling that I should be turning soon. You know, we should be getting about to the point to where the path veers off to the right, and I walk down around the cliff to get down to the bottom. And I remember thinking that, and then I remember there wasn't anything underneath my feet anymore. And literally, I'm just in the air, and I start falling. And I hit some rocks on the way down, bang my head pretty good, and I smack into the water. I remember feeling the absolute freezing cold of the water, because it was so cold. That water is fed by a natural spring, so it is incredibly cold. I remember feeling the cold from the water, and I felt heat on my head where I had hit my head on the way down. Come to find out, I was bleeding, and that's where the heat was coming from. And I remember not being able to breathe because I was under the water. And I was confused, disorientated. I didn't know which way was up and which way was down. I couldn't figure it out. And I remember thinking, well, look at the bubbles. You're supposed to look at the bubbles to see which way is up and down. So I remember opening my eyes and looking to see if I could see the bubbles. But it was pitch black because it was middle of the night, like 3 o'clock in the morning. There was no light anywhere. So I couldn't see nothing. And I couldn't figure out which way was up, which way was down. I was confused. My head was killing me. And my lungs started burning real bad because I'm holding my breath this entire time. So some time passes, and I can't figure out which way's up, which way's down. I can't get to the top. I try swimming this way. I try swimming that way. I'm just stuck. I can't get out. And I remember being cold. I remember pain in my head, pain in my lungs now. And I was just in an absolute world of suck. Then I remember all of a sudden I wasn't cold anymore. And my head didn't hurt anymore. And I could breathe just fine. And I felt like I was floating. But that wasn't too much of a change because I was under the water, so I kind of felt like I was floating anyway. But even that little bit of resistance that the water offered went away. And I literally just felt like I was just floating there in midair. And I felt a presence behind me. And I wanted to turn and face that presence that was coming towards me because I'm a fighter. I'm not somebody who just cowers or gives in. So I wanted to turn and face a potential threat because here I am in this scary situation. And something is coming up behind me, and I don't know what the hell it is. So I'm ready to fight. But I can't move. I'm just stuck. I'm like frozen in place. I can't move. My body's not cooperating with me. I'm screaming at my body, turn around, turn around. It ain't listening. So I'm floating there, and I can't move. And I feel this presence getting closer and closer to me from behind. So I start going into all-out panic mode at this point because something is coming up behind me. I can feel it, but I can't turn to face it. And I'm afraid I'm about to be attacked. I'm afraid something bad is about to happen to me, and I can't do anything about it. I'm helpless. And that was not a cool feeling. And I'm just hanging out there as this thing gets closer to me. Then I remember it being literally right behind me and feeling an arm come over my shoulder and hold me. And the other arm come over my other shoulder and just hold me close like this in a hug. I still can't turn. I can't see what it is. But as soon as those arms touched me, all the fear went away. All the panic left my body. All the anger, all the rage, everything just went away. I was filled with the most overwhelming joy and love that I'd ever felt. And really the only way to describe it would be absolute acceptance. I felt like nothing could ever be wrong again. That this presence behind me saw me and knew me, the real me, who I actually am. Past all the BS and the nonsense that every single person on this planet throws up as a self-defense. They knew the real me, and they accepted and loved me for who I was. And I'd never felt anything like that before or since. It was wonderful. Then I felt a voice. And I say that for a reason. I say felt instead of heard. Because I didn't hear anything. Nothing was audibly spoken. I kind of felt the voice inside my head, inside my body, you know? I could hear the words inside my head, but I didn't hear them with my ears, if that makes sense. They were just there. And I heard that I had to go back. And I didn't want to go back. Because I'd never felt love like this before. I'd never felt acceptance and joy like this before. It was the greatest feeling of my entire life. So I didn't want to go anywhere. But the voice insisted that I had to go back. So I began to fight and rage and scream and beg and plead and threaten and cajole and everything I could do to try to convince this presence behind me that I wanted to stay. I didn't want to go back. It should be my choice whether I go back or not. And I don't want to go. So the voice, the presence, whatever it was behind me, sat there patiently and listened and just waited. As I raged and raged and raged and begged and screamed and hollered and cried and did everything I could to try to convince it to let me stay. When I about wore myself out, I felt again inside that I had to go back. That it wasn't my time yet. I had stuff left to do. Those words weren't actually spoken, just that I had to go back, that it wasn't my time. But I had the feeling like I had work to do yet. So I was about gearing up for round 2 of this fight to try to stay, and about that time, I burst up through the water. And I started spitting and coughing water out of my lungs. I managed to kind of side swim, dog paddle, tread water my way over to a rock and just started pulling myself up out of the water. Now, luckily, I had found the little landing at the bottom where you actually get into the water. I don't know how that happened. Maybe it was divine intervention, but I found that little area to pull myself up out of the water. Once I was up on the rock, I started vomiting water, disgusting, gross water out of my lungs, and probably my stomach too. I swallowed a bunch. The girls left long ago. They were scared because I fell off a cliff and they didn't hear nothing but a splash and nothing after that for a good 15, 20 minutes. So they bailed. My buddy was sitting up at the top by the cliff under a tree, and I could hear him crying. So I started trying to yell for him to let him know that I was out of the water and I was okay. I needed help, but I was okay. But I couldn't really yell because I'm still throwing up water and my voice is gone. So I'm kind of just croaking, trying to get his attention. So I finally get his attention, and he's like, "James, is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." And I told him to stay there because I was thinking maybe he might not want to walk all the way down because he doesn't know this area very well. He hadn't been here very often. And I don't want him to fall in too because I'm in no shape to save him. So I tell him to stay, and I manage to crawl my way up around the path, and in about 5-10 minutes I get back up to where he is. He helps me to the car, and we go back to town. So that is the story of my death, when I died and came back. And the feeling that I had, and in my mind, the only sense that I can make out of it is that that presence behind me was Jesus Christ. That's the way it felt. That's the feeling that I had in my head. That is who it was. And I also can't think of anybody else that would give me that kind of love and acceptance. So in my mind, 100%, that's who it was. Now, I've been unsure about that in the past. I've always thought that it might have been Jesus, but I never wanted to come right out and say that I believed it was Jesus Christ, because I don't know for sure. But inside my body and my soul, my heart, I feel that that's the truth. So that's what I'm sticking with. But that is my death experience, and that is what brought me back to God. He literally had to drown me to bring me back. But I'm back. And that's why I follow Christ. That's why I'm the man I am today. I'm a completely different man today than I was back then. Back then, I was a very mean, dangerous person. I'm a big guy, and I love to fight. And I fought a lot back then. And I was not the kind of guy that you'd want to know. I would beat you in a hamburger for looking at me wrong. But after I came back out of that water, I was a completely different person. And I've never raised my fist in anger since. Not one time. So I can attest to you 100% that when you die, it's not the end. That there is something after this life that we have here. So getting back to the article that we're doing on the show today. Do I believe that this guy had a near-death experience and that he was seeing ghosts that were taken into different places? It's possible, but I mean, honestly and realistically, my answer for this one is kind of split. Okay? Yes and no. That's my ruling on it, yes and no. And I'll explain that. Do I believe that he saw ghosts? Absolutely. 100% I believe that. There are so many different reports of all kinds of paranormal activity that takes place in hospitals. A lot of people spend their last days there. A lot of people die in hospitals. A lot of people are kind of stuck there. And you have the people that have just died that are there, that haven't moved on yet. So, absolutely, I believe that he could have been seeing something. Now, did they take him to different places and all this? That part is the no. I don't believe that at all. Do I believe that he saw that? Yes. But I believe most likely what that was some kind of dream, because he said himself that he was asleep, that he had went to sleep and kept going to sleep and waking up, going to sleep and waking up. So I believe that he was having these crazy dreams fueled by the anesthetic, okay, the anesthesia. That is what caused those hallucinations and those weird dreams, in my opinion. So I don't think that the ghosts were taking him anywhere. I don't think that he was going to another dimension or another universe, like Old Boy said, or anything like that. I think this is simply a situation where the dude had surgery, a pretty severe surgery. And the anesthesia causes hallucinations in people. You have weird-ass dreams after a major surgery when you're in recovery. And I think that's all this was this guy was having some weird dreams. Now, do I think that it's possible that the ghost could have just been hallucinations as well? Maybe. But I'm not going to discount seeing the ghost as just a hallucination, simply because I know for a fact that there are spirits present in most hospitals. I mean, we've done shows before all about this subject, where you have story after story after story after story of people that have went in for surgeries or had some sort of procedure or were in an accident and went to the ER, and they saw all kinds of ghosts and stuff like that in the hospital. So that is absolutely possible. And I would believe the guy if he says that he saw those things. Where I draw the line is the ghost taking him to different locations. And the reason for that is not only because that's not something that you hear about happening, but also in the article they're talking about he is in one location, and then all of a sudden he's in another location, completely different location, completely different people, just boom, gone. One to the other, like that. To me, that is textbook dreaming. Okay, that's how dreams work. Is you dream that you're sitting in class and you forgot your homework or whatever, and they're getting ready to call you up to the board and you're not prepared, whatever the dream is, and then all of a sudden you're flying in a plane with the Red Baron and Snoopy's trying to shoot you down, then all of a sudden you're at the 7-Eleven getting a Slurpee. It just bounces like that from dream to dream. And in your mind, it seems jumbled all together. So that makes complete and total sense that that portion of his story is simply anesthesia-fueled dreams that have switched from scene to scene to scene. That makes sense to me. But once again, the ghost thing could be, or it could just be also hallucinations. You never know. But I wouldn't discount it completely as being impossible because, like I said, we've got a lot of evidence of it. Also, when you look at some of the most haunted places that we go to, a lot of those places are old hospitals and old sanatoriums and old insane asylums, stuff like that. I mean, we did several different videos from St. Albans Sanatorium. That was essentially a hospital. That was a place where people would go to get better from alcohol and mental issues. And some of the things weren't actually mental issues, but they were deemed as mental issues back at the time. If you had a problem with drinking and you couldn't stop, they would send you there. Johnny Cash almost ended up there because he got in trouble and they were going to send him there. Another thing they would do is women, if they didn't listen to their husband tell them to do something and they don't listen, and they're being all uppity and bitchy and just argumentative, the husband would actually put the wife in the sanitarium as mentally ill, and she would have to stay there until her attitude improved. And so that, not really mental illness. Although some people, if you're married and your wife gets on a rip-roaring tear on you, you might argue that point. You might say, I think they might be a little bit mentally ill. I'd be inclined to agree with you on some aspects of that, but I don't think that we ought to be locking them up in sanitariums just because they don't listen. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to talk it out. But that's what they did back then, man. They would stick them in this place if they wouldn't listen. So not everybody that went into a place like St. Albans was actually insane or mentally ill. Sometimes they were just drunks, man. Sometimes they were just women who were tired of their husband's crap, and they weren't going to put up with it no more. And so they're going to let them know how the hell they feel. Now, unfortunately, in that time, women didn't have the same rights they have now, so they ended up stuck in a place like that. And that was not a nice place for them to be. Really, any place where you have mentally ill people is not a nice place to be. And that's a big problem that we see in society today. The majority of the homeless population is mentally ill. The reason why we didn't have such problems with homelessness back in the 50s and before was because those people would be put in insane asylums. But what ended up happening is people in the insane asylums, you had some bad apples that did some horrible things and mistreated some of these people. And it got to be so shocking what was going on there that society as a whole just said, hey, no more of that crap. Shut these things down, man. So now to get somebody actually committed in an insane asylum is a lot of work. You can't just put them away like you used to. You got to go before a judge and first of all, you get the police to come pick them up. And they can hold them for like 3 days if they're a danger to themselves or danger to somebody else. But to keep them any length of time after that, you got to go before a judge and prove that this person is dangerous and they need to be locked away. Either they're going to hurt themselves or they're going to hurt somebody else. The doctors play a role in that at the psychiatric center, wherever you are. But also the family plays a big role in that too. You got to go before the judge and make your case. And then that's something you have to continually do on an ongoing basis every once in a while in order to keep them locked away. Back in the old days, it wasn't like that. Somebody was crazy, you just took them there and said, hey, this dude's crazy, lock him up. You know? And if the person you're locking up couldn't make a damn good case for themselves and prove that they weren't crazy, they got locked up. But the good news of it was that a lot of these people that now are homeless because they're not capable of functioning in society like the rest of us. So they end up on the streets. All of those people had a place to stay in the asylums because they couldn't function in society. And we put them someplace where they could be taken care of, we thought. But unfortunately, like I said, you had some bad apples doing some bad things, and that kind of got screwed up. I think nowadays there needs to be some kind of middle ground here, man. It has to be not so hard to put somebody away in an asylum. We need to bring the asylums back. We need to make sure that they're regulated, make sure that somebody's looking at them so that none of that crap happens again, because it's inexcusable, the stuff that went on. But some of these mentally ill people that are out on the streets need to be locked away someplace for their own safety and for the safety of society at large. Now, I'm not saying every single homeless person needs to be locked up, because if you're not crazy and you're just lazy and don't want to work or whatever, and that's why you're homeless, and whatever, be homeless. But a lot of the people, and I know this because I've done a lot of work with the homeless. I've taken a lot of supplies to the homeless and food and blankets and medicines and stuff like that. I've done a lot of work there. So I've spent time with a lot of these people. And a big majority of these people are mentally ill. And they need help. But they don't have anybody to look out for them. So they just end up on the street. They don't have anybody, or their families just kind of wash their hands of them. They don't want nothing to do with them anymore. So that's the situation that they're facing. So they need help. They need to be taken in someplace where they can be taken care of and not mistreated, and get the help that they need for their whatever mental problem they have before they end up hurting somebody or hurting themselves. Let me know down in the comments what you think about that. That is a touchy subject. It's a controversial subject. It's something that is usually not talked about because people don't want to offend anybody. But I think there has to be a middle ground there. Also, let me know down in the comment section what you think about this article. Do you think that this guy actually saw ghosts and that those ghosts took him places? Or do you agree with me that it was a hallucination, at least the taking places part was a hallucination? Or maybe you think the whole thing was a hallucination? Let me know down in the comment section what you think. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. You're free to believe or think whatever you choose. All we're doing here is giving you information and letting you know what we think about it. As always, you just make up your own mind. You know what I mean? Let me know down in the comment section what you think about it. Also, let us know if there's any subjects that you want covered on Staring. We'd be happy to do shows that you guys want to see. So if there's anything that we haven't covered, let us know. And we'll be happy to do it for you. We've been doing this for like 3 years, 3 or 4 years, 7 years. I don't know how many years, a lot of years. So chances are we've done the show, most likely. If that's the case, I'll just put the show in the comment section there so you can watch it. But I think it's been 7 years. Old Boy said earlier that it's 7 years. So I'm gonna trust what Old Boy says on that. I don't keep track of the time. I have no idea how many years it's been. If he says 7 years, I'm going with 7 years. But anyway, that's what I think about it. You heard what Old Boy thinks about it. Let us know in the comment section what you think about it. And I'm going to throw it back over to Old Boy and get his final sum up and shout outs and all that kind of stuff. And then I will come back on the other end of that and give you my final sum up and my plugs and all that kind of stuff. And we will move on along. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show here on Parax Radio. We haven't done a show for a couple weeks because James has been out with his voice. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed the show tonight. We actually got back on track. Tell me what you guys think. If you ever had these encounters, leave it in the, in the comments. We'd love to hear it. A lot of big things are coming. I can't talk about it, but it's getting closer and closer. You guys want to watch all the other videos we do on James Hershey's YouTube page? We've been doing that forever. That's why everybody, why don't you have your own? We've just been doing that forever. Check us out. We're everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, of course, everywhere. TikTok, check us out. You want merchandise? We'll tell you where to go. He'll tell you what you can get, shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. Guys, I hope you have a great holiday. We love you, and blessed be like always. And have a good day and night, Misfits. We love you.
Thank you, brother. I hope that you guys enjoyed the episode. I thought it was very interesting. When I read this article, it reminded me of all of those stories that we've heard of people having near-death experiences and going through a surgery and seeing all kinds of crazy stuff. It also reminded me of all the stories that I've heard of people seeing ghosts and having other paranormal experiences in hospitals. And to me, that's not even the scariest thing that could happen in a hospital. I mean, I don't really find ghosts very scary at all. I do this for a living. This is what we deal with every day almost. So to me, it's not an issue at all. It's not scary. To me, the scariest thing that could happen in a hospital, and let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this. The scariest thing to me would be going into surgery and waking up in the middle of it. Imagine that. You go in there, you got to get some kind of surgery done. They're going to cut you wide open and do things to you. And they knock you out. You're laying in the bed, counting backwards, all that jazz, and you're gone. You expect to wake up in recovery and everything's wonderful. Except for you wake up and you're hearing the doctors talk. And you're still on the table. And you're wide open. And you can feel everything. Now imagine if that happens to you, but you're not fully awake. So you're conscious, you can think, you can feel, you're aware of what's going on around you. But you can't move. You can't speak, you can't let them know that you're awake. Because the anesthesia's got you just enough to keep you down so you can't speak. And so they don't know you're awake. But you are awake, and you can feel everything, and you can see everything, and hear everything. Imagine that. Now you might say, James, dude, that's terrifying, and you're right. But you might also say that's impossible. It's not going to happen. Well, believe it or not, that's happened a lot of times. I've read a lot of different accounts of people that exactly that has happened to. They went into surgery, woken up in the middle of it, but they were paralyzed. They couldn't move because they were still under the anesthesia, but they were completely aware and felt everything and remembered it. Imagine that. They're slicing and dicing inside of you, and you're wide awake, and you can feel it, but you can't scream. You can't let them know. So imagine not only the pain and suffering of that, but the fear of knowing that this is going to continue until they're done. There's no way you can let them know. There's no way you can say, hey, guys, I'm awake, dude. This hurts. You can't let them know anything. Imagine how terrible that would be, dude. To me, that's the most terrifying thing ever that could happen. Now, some people say the most terrifying thing that could happen in a hospital is dying. But I don't think that's that bad. I mean, you go into surgery, let's say, right? And you die on the table? Why is that a bad thing? We're all going to die. I hate to break that to you. If you're watching this and you think you're not going to die, you're going to die. Every single one of us has to die. Okay? You're going to die. And for most of us, it's going to suck. But imagine being so lucky that you go into surgery, right? You're laying in your bed, you're cool. They give you the IV, they give you the mask over your face. You go to sleep. You don't wake back up. There's no pain, there's no suffering. That's the best possible way to go. I mean, if you got to die anyway, right? And unless you're going to be there for the rapture, right? Which maybe you will. I mean, it seems like it might be the end times. So maybe some of us won't die. Maybe the rapture will happen and we'll just be taken up. But barring the rapture, you're all going to die. So if you got to die anyway, you might as well go like that. That's a pretty good way to go, in my opinion. I can't think of a better one. To die completely asleep, completely out of it. You have no idea what's going on. You lay down, you get put to sleep, you wake up in heaven. Pretty awesome. If you're saved. If you're not saved, I guess you wake up in hell and that really sucks. But at least you didn't have the pain of dying. But you're still going to have pain for all eternity, which is no fun. But can't have everything, right? To me, best way to go. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys think. Do you think that is the best way to go? Or do you think another way would be better? To me, dying on the table is perfect. Because you don't feel nothing. You don't know nothing. Easiest way to go. I think the worst way to go would probably be drowning, which I did already, and it did absolutely suck. I do not recommend that. 0 stars out of 10. Absolute garbage. I gave it a bad review. I hate it. Don't want to do it again. Drowning is no fun. Don't do that. A lot of people say fire would be a horrible way to go. And probably for the very beginning of it, it would absolutely suck. But I think fairly quickly all the nerve endings would be burnt off. So you would only feel it in the beginning. And then after that, you wouldn't feel nothing. I would think. I don't know. I've never burnt to death. So I would hope that'd be the way it would go. Otherwise, that would absolutely suck too. But anyway, we're getting real morbid. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with us again this week. We appreciate you. And until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.